Sorry, I was chewing a grape. Hey, welcome back to segment 3 of the Intelligent Idea Talkers podcast, guys. So, this is Steph's segment. We're going to let her take over. She has a beef.
Gonna take over?
She has a beef with maple trees the other day. This
God.
was a very interesting argument that Steph was sending to the group the other morning.
Let me say, I
thought we should
don't
bring it up on the
disagree,
cast.
but go ahead.
I don't disagree
Tell
with
us
her. I was
what's
going
going
to say
on.
that.
Tell us your thoughts about this. What's going on?
Okay, so in order to even give this any type of thought whatsoever, you're gonna have to be able to look at it from a different lens, okay? Because if for example, you look at life from the perspective of, a black man in America, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that is what you live, that is what you see,
So
and
it's the only perspective
and
I can use.
That is
Right.
your perspective, and that's what it has influenced you.
Oh, I see
But what I'm saying is that in order to be
What if you're a maple tree?
to be able to look at something fairly, sometimes you have to be able to look past your own lens, your
Bias.
familiarity
Your own prejudices.
with it.
Prejudices
Yes,
and
your own
biases.
prejudices, exactly. And that's the thing is like we are often dealing with speciesism, and it's really easy to be a human and be like, let me kill that bug and I'm done with it. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like, and don't care because
It's a bug.
you're
It's a
bigger
ant.
than it, right? You're bigger and you feel like you're better. So that's the thing. You're bigger and you're better, or you have the ability to do something. That doesn't necessarily mean that you have the right to do something.
Agreed.
So this is where the debate comes in, is because my thing is, and this is always and anything when, in reference to speciesism, you have to question what gives me the right to do something or to treat something this way. Okay? And often when we hear this term, we hear people referencing animal rights, okay? But you have to understand that speciesism is speciesism, and that isn't just animals and humans. This is all species.
Yeah.
Do you have respect for things that are living, or is it just that you only care about yourself or your family? You know what I
Species.
mean? Do you have enough respect for the things around you that are
empathy for
alive?
those things around you.
Do you have enough respect for it? So I got into a debate recently, and I'm not saying that that I am right or wrong, and I'm not saying that the people that I was speaking to were right or wrong. I think that there's a lot of opinions here, but it's definitely something to really consider. So we were talking about tapping maple trees, okay? And when you tap a maple tree, you basically drill into the maple tree, and you're not drilling all the way into the maple tree, but you're drilling into it enough for the maple syrup to be able to trickle out of it.
Right.
Okay? And the maple tree creates maple syrup as its form of energy. Okay? So in reference, because trees have a vascular system similar to how we have a system of a network in our body that distributes blood
Circulatory
and
system.
water, and exactly like a circulatory system. Look, I just messed that up. But basically, we're drilling into the maple tree, and we're commoditizing.
I know what you're trying to say.
Yeah, we're making money.
We're making money.
Commoditizing.
Yeah. Come on. We're lobotomizing.
We are making money off of something that we are removing
Right.
from a tree. So it's only
That's the capitalist way, though, Steph.
it's only the sugar maples that
We
that
take without giving back
that
and sell it.
that have this syrup that we use. Well, there's a lot of trees that have syrup, but we use this one in particular because it's so sweet.
Right.
We like it, syrup. It tastes awesome,
I do
right?
have a question though.
And if you want real syrup, real syrup, like it hasn't been
without being processed. and all
without
that
being
stuff?
processed with corn syrup and all kinds of craziness.
Me
If you
too.
Corn
want-
syrup is so
if
scary.
you want
when you
real
research that shit.
syrup, it's expensive, and the tree
Is it
can't.
sweet though?
It's amazing. It tastes
Oh,
great.
see,
I hear it is
But-
good. Yeah, I hear
but
it is expensive, though.
I never had it.
The tree doesn't have an unlimited source, just as you don't have an unlimited source of blood.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, your body has to replace the blood that's in your body. So if you remove if too much blood loss happens, what happens? you die.
Right.
Like, so they are, the people that tap trees are very particular about it because they have to make sure that they don't take too much
Because they know
from
this.
the maple tree because you can kill the maple tree.
Yeah, they're aware of that. Makes sense.
There's so many, and here's the thing. So in order to be able to even like consider this, right, you have to really, really, really look at it from a very clean lens. You know what I mean? And remove your prejudices because it's very difficult to even think about as like this tree. We don't look at trees as people, right, or as equals.
We definitely look at them as inanimate objects. I do.
But the thing is, there's a lot of study that's been done about trees and plants and the consciousness of plants and trees. And we can't prove that they are self-conscious, but there is consciousness. Okay?
I have a question.
Right, like if you hurt a tree, it feels it.
I want to go back to the maple tree circulatory system we were talking about. Just because I don't know, genuine question, because I have no idea. But like, what does a tree use the circulation? Like how, like we use it for, I guess, like healing and like, I don't know, living, like our heartbeats, you know, stuff like that. Like how does a tree use their circulatory system?
The maple syrup is what the tree creates. So basically the tree intakes water and is able to create the syrup in their body, just like we intake water and we're able to create blood in our bodies.
Right.
And it uses it as a form of energy in its body.
For like energy for like reproduction or like maple trees make like, do they have acorns? Or
No, that's an oak tree.
Oak tree? Okay, I don't know.
You can call it an
excuse
acorn
me,
tree.
Steph. I
You
don't
know,
know
you call
my
it an
trees that
acorn
well.
tree juice. Jeez.
Jesus Christ.
It's an
Sorry.
acorn tree.
Sorry.
So
Those are
anyway,
apples.
so going back to it, okay?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, so you tap the tree, all right? And to tap the tree, you have to injure
Drill
the
a hole.
tree. You have to drill a hole into the tree, okay? And now, if you drill a hole into my body, it hurts, and I'm going to bleed out, okay? But we often do this for many different reasons, right? We donate blood for other people who need the blood. You know, we have to get IVs and have medicines, you know.
Testing.
There's so many reasons, right? So I'm not necessarily saying that, it's a terrible thing, but as I am shopping, right? And I go, and this has happened to me for lots of things, eggs, like lots of things. I pick up the bottle and it's an expensive bottle. It's like $12, right? And I think, wow, they always have this in stock. Now, I can't be the only one purchasing this because obviously there is a demand for this. It's here, right? How do they have so much? How do you have so much? And then it made me question, where does this come from? Why is it made?
I think the corn syrup takes about 60% of the bottle.
Yeah, you know, that's a good point. Like they stretch it.
Well,
They do stretch it.
not natural maple syrup.
No.
In natural maple syrup.
That's why it's expensive.
Yeah, it's very expensive.
How much is probably a bottle of natural maple syrup? What are we talking about?
Yeah, it's a good $12.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's not like your waffle syrup.
We were talking about
Yeah.
Aunt Jemima's.
Yeah.
That's
okay,
only
okay.
a couple dollars.
Yeah, no.
Because I was like, where are you shopping for $12 syrup?
if you research,
I'm like, is this?
if you
This
research
Whole Foods?
corn syrup, dog, that joint is scary, man. They talk about like a lot of diseases are actually from corn syrup being in so many of the products we consume, and that's where a lot of that syrup comes from. Like you read the back of that bottle, it says corn syrup like a bunch.
It says a bunch of other stuff too.
Right.
Yeah, things you can't even pronounce, right?
My argument against that is it comes down to a person to decide whether a tree is sentient or not, right? So it's your opinion that it is. It could be my opinion that it's not, you know? And trees can be bred specifically for purposes of taking the syrup from them, right? So they can have tree farms with hundreds of thousands of trees specifically for the purpose of taking the syrup from them.
You don't really have tree farms though.
Well,
Think
those
about
are
for Christmas trees.
orchards.
Where do Christmas trees come from? They have a tree
it's-
farm, or they have a place where a bunch of these trees grow. They chop them down and sell them.
But here's the thing, okay? And once again, that's the same issue. That is the same issue, just in a different...
And I think comparing a tree to a human life is a little bit of a stretch. Because if you could chop down a forest of 500,000 trees versus killing a village of 500 people, how do you weigh the two against each other? You know what I mean?
Well,
like,
I want to answer that question very, very honestly and openly. if you kill, how many people did you say?
500.
All right. If you kill 500 people, it doesn't change anything on this earth. If you kill 500 trees,
I don't agree with that
something.
because who knows what those 500
That's what
people will
Hitler
grow
said.
to be.
We can kill those 500 Jews.
I'm not
It's
saying
not gonna
that.
change anything
I'm
on
not
this earth.
saying that it's okay.
Those kids can
I'm
grow
just-
to be doctors.
I'm
and
not saying that it's
physicians.
okay. I'm just saying that
No,
most of
you
us
guys are
are.
adding too much.
I do like that though. I like that though.
I'm
It's
not.
kinda-
I'm not saying
good
it's
something to think
okay in
about.
any shape or form in any way.
Yeah, she's not saying kill 500 people. She's talking about the weight, right? You're
The
talking
in-
about weight per value, right?
I'm talking about the value of human life versus a maple tree.
But,
But again, that goes
then
back
you're
to the
saying that
lens of
there's no
perspective,
value.
right?
But then you're saying that there's no value, that the
only-
tree's life isn't valuable.
Do you think
a
a
maple
tree cares
tree,
about
I pulled
a
up an
human's
article
life?
here on.
What do you think a tree's value of a human life is? Right?
A tree
And
doesn't
you can't
care about a
ask.
human
You
life.
can't
How do you
ask 'cause
know?
can't-
You
how do
can't
know?
ask it.
Right? You
Because it's an
can't know.
inanimate object and it doesn't feel when
But
we
it's
punch
not
a
an
hole
inanimate
into it.
object.
but
It
it
is.
does.
It's not an inanimate
You think a
object.
tree feels?
Yes.
You think a tree feels
No.
hurt when you punch a hole in it to drain its corn syrup
Maybe
out
not
of it?
the-
Or its syrup out
There
of
is
it?
a physiological damage to the tree. It doesn't have our sentience.
Right.
That's what we're talking about.
Not like an animal or a human being.
Right, because it's not
So
the
it's
same
hard to
as
compare
us.
a tree to an animal
I
or a
think
human
so.
being.
I think we're going back to. Let's go back to the premise of what she was saying.
And this is
Right,
why I was
'cause
getting
right
so
now you're
heated
saying
the
a
other
bunch
morning
of-
when Steph was sending us to the
Right
ground.
now,
I was
Dee's
like,
saying a
what's all
bunch
this?
of other stuff that's not a part of what. Like this goes outside of the premise what she was talking about.
Well, I'm
You're
trying
adding
to
other
weigh. I'm
things
trying to weigh apples and
to the
oranges,
arguments.
right? Like
You
if you're
are.
saying that a
You
tree
can't.
feels and that it's a living creature,
So your
I'm
analogy,
saying that
your presumption
using
in
a
the first
tree-
place was a little bit off because you're saying what means more. That you can't
Right.
weigh apples and oranges, D. Like you can't do that. It's
well,
not
in
the
this
same
case, in this
thing.
case, you have to because if you're saying that a tree
But we're not
feels
saying-
and that we shouldn't use it for the purposes of enhancing our lives,
She didn't say we shouldn't use it.
but that is what she's saying, right?
What-
We shouldn't hurt a tree to drain the syrup from it to create syrup.
She didn't say we shouldn't use it.
So what are you saying, Steph? What is the basis of what you're
Okay.
saying?
So, I mean, what gives you the right? Okay.
So then, therefore, we shouldn't use it because
I'm
it doesn't
not
give us the
saying that
right.
you should or you shouldn't.
What
I'm
if you do
saying
have a
that
right?
whatever it is that you
What gives us a right to use a tree for firewood or even for syrup? What gives us the right? It's a tree. Who owns a tree?
Okay, that tree, that
If
that
you grow a
that
tree in your
tree
backyard,
that
it's your
that
tree.
tree that you're arguing. First of all, you're comparing lives that can't be compared because a maple tree can live up to 300 years.
Right.
You can't even live to 100 years. So how can you compare
It's possible.
your
There's
life
some when people
to
who
a
live to
tree's
98,
life?
95.
That's not the argument she's
It's
making.
the
Well, I'm
average
just saying,
life.
you're
The
talking
average
about that-
lifespan is 75.
You're talking about
the
li-
average
the
the
weight-
average human life age is 75.
Right.
This tree can live up to 300 years.
So how do you
How
compare
can-
that to a human being?
Exactly. You can't compare the two. They can't be compared. That's the same as if you would compare yourself to a dog. A dog can live 10 to 12 years, right?
Right.
Do you compare yourself to the dog?
But okay, so
There-
yes, because a dog can become a member of the family, so I can love my dog the same as I
No,
love
that
my
is your
niece.
bias. That is your bias because
What's
you
the
can
same
say
as a
that
tree,
that
then?
dog is a part of your family.
Now,
but
would you rather
someone
see-
looking in may say that's a dog and dogs are vicious and I hate dogs.
I'll say
because
this.
people are looking at it from a prejudice perspective. So what I'm saying is if you took away your prejudice and you just looked at it as life and you are thinking about the respect value of life, do I respect life?
But is a
Like,
tree
here's the thing.
alive?
What if we?
It's a matter of
course, 'cause
speaking.
If it can die, it can be
A
alive.
plant
It's
is alive because if you put it towards the sun and it's in the sunny spot, it'll grow up towards the sun and point towards the sun. But is it alive in the same
And
way that a
hey,
chicken is
It,
or
it reproduces.
a rat is?
A tree, it eats, it reproduces, it excretes excrement. Trees
Trees don't shit.
They have
Do they?
excretions. Yeah. What do you think happens every
Okay,
fall?
all right. Okay, but
Like,
I'm
what do you
saying,
think fall is? Like, it's
if
getting
you had
rid of
if you had a
this one
dog,
thing, it's getting
now,
rid of
now
all
I'm
the
gonna ask
extra.
Juice this because Juice had a dog and I seen Juice very pissed off when somebody harmed his dog before. Would you rather have a tree that you've been growing for 15 years burned down, or would you have a dog that you've been raising for 10 years as a puppy get killed and pass away?
Once again,
there's
this
a
is
value there
speciesism.
and there's
This
a
is-
weight there.
This is speciesism. This is you
Like,
saying
if we
that
took a
one
look at this
species
as an
is
intellectual
more
exercise,
important than the
right?
other species, when that's not how nature works. Nature works in a circle just like everything else. Everything is circular.
Except for when you're dealing with humans.
No, everything is
No,
circular.
definitely.
Everything
When
is
you're dealing with
circular.
humans.
So if you we all create balance, okay? And environmentally speaking, you create imbalance when you try to remove a large portion of something that is part of this ecosystem.
I feel you, yeah,
now,
of
one
course.
of the major problems that we have now, environmentally speaking, is that humans have tried to remove themselves from the ecosystem, which is causing a lot of harm to the environment.
And
it's
ourselves.
It's
And then-
in ourselves.
I
It's
would say that,
causing
yeah.
a huge problem. So we're not saying that we're weighing out the lives. What we're saying is that are we respecting them? So when I was talking about tapping the tree, I'm talking about not just tapping the tree. I mean, woodpeckers can tap a tree.
Right.
A lot of things happen, but the tree doesn't naturally just excrete their syrup. Okay, this is their form of energy. So if they don't naturally excrete it, what
But
necessarily
they do,
gives
though.
us
If
the
you touch
right
a maple and
to
you get the
bottle
syrup in
it
your
up,
hands, isn't it
to
naturally
bottle
being
it,
excreted?
and sell it to create a commodity?
But
To
here's the
bottle
thing.
and sell
I
and
do
sell
think
it
we
and
should
make
be-
it available for everybody everywhere you go in America, I guarantee you
I'm
can
with
find
on that one.
syrup.
So here's the thing. Here's where I see like the balance here, right? Like I hear Steph on the argument of like, hey, where's our level of respect for these things, right?
I feel you.
Like we have to respect our planet, and that's what I look at it from a planetary view. Because we haven't been respecting our planet for the last couple thousand years, we're suffering from a number of climatological
Not even a
issues.
couple
right?
thousand. Within the last,
Couple
600 years.
Right.
But like definitely we've been experiencing like a number of issues going on with our planet, right? And that's ultimately going to affect us because we're not respecting the world as a living organism, as a complete environment. So if she's
Definitely
looking at
is
the
a living
trees,
organism, yeah.
like in the way of the maple syrup, like is there a way we could do this where it's not so damaging? Like do we have to bleed these trees until they're dead? And I wonder, is that the case? Are
Well,
factories or orchards?
So here's the thing.
Are they bleeding these trees?
A farmer
until
will argue
they're
that I
empty?
will only tap this tree during a certain season, and I'm not going to take out so much. Okay.
That makes sense.
All
that
right.
seems reasonable.
But it's still a commodity. So you take away. So you remove. And here's the thing. There's a lot of contradictions when we talk about agriculture. Okay. There's a lot of contradictions. So in nature, things exist due to biodiversity. Okay, biodiversity is so major
That's why males and females
in
exist.
nature. Okay, it's the reason why you and I can produce a child, but me and my brother, if we produced a child, there'd probably be something wrong with the child because biodiversity
probability.
is so important.
There was
okay?
nothing wrong with the Lannister kids.
Higher probability.
There was a lot wrong with the
Okay,
Lannisters.
Joffrey, but not Tommy nor Marcello. Okay,
Okay,
they were sweet,
so-
young, innocent kids.
Getting back to the environmental perspective. Okay,
So
so when you create an orchard or a farm and you just farm the way where I want to be a tomato farmer, so I'm going to grow all tomatoes. This is not how nature works.
Right.
If you create an orchard and you're only growing maple trees and you're only tapping a little bit of them, this is not how nature works, okay? So you are
But
forcing
that doesn't
something.
mean we shouldn't do it.
You're forcing it to work in your favor, and it doesn't because you reduce the life of the tree.
But it does.
You reduce the life of the tree. So that tree that could have lived, to be 300
300
years
years, yeah.
old is not going to live as long and is also put into a position where once you've tapped the tree, other things are interested in the syrup that's coming out of it too.
Right,
It
other
becomes
animals and
it
stuff
becomes
like
a
that,
target.
Well, wait,
So-
hold on. Because I
and
hear,
also,
I feel you on
in
what you're saying, Steph,
biodiversity-
but in a way, it's okay to be able to use these things for, like, I don't agree with abusing them, but to be able to use them for our benefit is also something we should have a right to do because we're also on this planet.
Well, there's
right?
there's a big difference between our benefit and our profit.
We exist because of those things, and we exist because humanity exists because we've always used the environment around us in order to make ourselves better,
Enhance
make ourselves
ourselves,
stronger,
right.
to heal ourselves, to feed ourselves. We've always done that because ultimately, if you run that argument long enough, you're like, we can't eat apples because they're not intended for us to eat, right? Like, it's a difference, right? It's definitely, there has to be some kind of balance. We need to
that's
use.
the exact opposite of what I would argue because the apple has been developed for us to eat. We developed it.
Okay, maybe not an apple then. What?
All the fruit, all the veggies and fruit that we eat are developed
But
for our purpose.
we've always fed from the environment. We've always fed from the environment
Everything
around
does,
us, no matter
but
what
we
it
don't
was.
give back to the environment. So here's.
But we do
but
provide.
We don't.
No, for those trees, we provide them a place where we make sure, like, if these are trees that we are using on a regular basis, that we provide for them in a sense that we provide a place where they won't be
like you said, like the farmer, they tap
in,
it.
in an environment that lacks biodiversity, they become a target. So, for example, they become a target. If for anything that wants to attack it, it is the most difficult thing for trees to even live. A tree to live is one of the most difficult things to happen within nature, because so many things want to attack it. And if the tree is sick, so many other species are triggered to attack it because it's sick. Okay? So the thing is,
attack it or live off of it. Because what if those animals or those things that use that tree don't survive without their ability to use that tree?
Listen,
without the ability to use that dying tree. Like
no,
we're talking
it's
about
all a network, like you're saying.
You have to understand that there's communication happening in a way that we cannot communicate. Okay? So for example, if a plant is being attacked by a bug, some plants can send out chemical senses for the predator of that insect to attack the insect that's attacking them. Like, there's this form of communication that we aren't even on yet, all right? Because they have evolved much longer. Like, they were around much longer than we were. That goes back to it. It's like, this is kind of if you want to look at it from the perspective of and humanize it, this is an elder. This is someone who's older than me. How much respect do I have for somebody that's older than me?
The only thing I would argue against that is, like, it's a difference between a tree that has a possible lifespan of 300 years versus something like coal mining or petroleum mining, right? Like these things that took hundreds of thousands of millions of years to form, versus us tapping the natural resource of a tree that we can grow ourselves. We can grow fields and fields of these trees ourselves, you know?
I mean,
versus a coal mine where you're not going to get this back. You know, this stuff is not going to form again.
I think both of these
so there's a spectrum there.
Both of these issues have the underlining same problem of
there's a spectrum there. And I would say that trees,
just because we can doesn't necessarily mean that we should. Just because we have the ability doesn't mean that that's something that is going to be the best thing for us to do. We don't consider the possibilities. You know, we think, if you only think from one perspective, then you don't see how it harms or the effects that can happen from another perspective.
Capitalism is a nasty beast, man, and it doesn't care about the environment or how you feel or how that tree feels.
Main problem with
they want to sell syrup.
That's why capitalism is a monster, man.
Right, it is.
Capitalism is definitely a monster, not something.
The ability to make a dollar.
So my thing is, and this has always been
what they call it, commerce.
My issue, and this is something that kind of keeps me personally in check. This is my code. Everybody has a code, right? I always ask myself, well, what gives me the right to do that? You know what I mean? And if I cannot justify my right to do it, then I probably don't need to do it.
Well, some people's right to do something because they want to.
Like, the only power that we have as consumers in this country is through our dollar, all right? So I'm not going to contribute to buying something. I'm not going to create a demand for something that I don't agree with. If I don't agree with it, because this is greed. Being able to just have something whenever you want it at any point in time. We're not supposed to be that comfortable. That's why we deal with obesity, and that's why we deal with all of these other things, is because you're not just supposed to be so comfortable where you have no threats. Your senses are become limited.
Dulled.
Become limited.
Oh, our senses are dulled.
Because you're not using them.
We're consumers.
You're not using them. So then, we were talking about that before, as far as how humans are evolving. Will we evolve into machines or into robotics, etc.? I mean, when you're talking about losing your abilities, losing your senses because you're not using them, well, what's next?
What if we're evolving something else, right? What if we're evolving towards a different direction?
But you have to understand.
And that goes back to my next point I wanted to bring up, which was, all right, so say a tree. What do trees do? They grow. They
my God, what
produce
do trees
food.
do?
They do so much, right? Trees do so much. What do
I'm
what
waiting
do
for Steph
what
to
do
tell us
deer
what
do?
trees do.
Okay.
Like what do deer do? Right? Like what do tigers do? Like what do all
Okay.
these? What do,
Ligers.
Can we talk about? I would love to talk about this.
right.
Sure.
But all those are very interesting questions. But then the ultimate question is, what do humans do?
All right. So
And which
let's
is my main concern. Being
talk
one of
about
them.
that. Let's talk about
I would say the difference
What
between
do
those is
humans
humans don't provide back to the environment in
but
the
what-
same way
but
that
But we
those
have
other
the
things
ability
do.
to. But we have the ability to.
We do, but
So
this is the-
humans are the great tool makers of the earth. We
Yes.
can create tools.
We're creators.
But, and just like evolution doesn't mean become better. Evolution just means to
Adapt.
change. It just means to change.
And I would argue against that. Humans have been tapping the earth for its natural resources for as long as humans have been in existence.
But
on Earth.
Capitalism
everything,
hasn't-
everything
and we
uses
don't
natural
give
resources.
back when we go fishing. We don't spawn more fish into the sea. They spawn on their own. You know, we take the fish and sell them at market and eat them and consume
But
them,
if
but
you-
we don't put it back.
But if you take too many,
You know what I mean? That's-
then
that's-
you don't have
But we
enough
have
fish
a
in the
So there's a
sea.
population
balance.
Is a huge population difference to how it is now versus how it was 2,000 years ago.
Right.
Population has tripled.
But there's like
It's ridiculous.
trillions
how
of
many
fish in the sea.
Okay, well, let's-
Yeah,
for
but
that
there's-
one.
But
for that
there's
one example.
so much
Okay.
less than it used to be.
Oh, of course,
and
yeah.
it's going to continue to be
So
less.
if you throw a net out, okay, but you're fishing for tuna. Tuna's a huge
You ever
fish,
seen a
by the
tuna?
way.
You seen how big them
Tuna's a
motherfuckers
huge
are?
fish,
Yeah.
by the way. You're not just gonna catch tuna. You're gonna catch everything
Everything.
that's under that
Right.
net. Do they
Sea
throw
turtles, all
everything
that
back?
shit.
Do,
Of course not. I can sell
no.
that shit.
Do
capitalists.
fish and turtles and dolphins and all these things get harmed when they net these things and pull them in? Yes, you throw them back, but they might be dead,
But
or
that
they may
doesn't mean
not
they
be
can't be
have the
useful either.
ability to. The problem is if you take out a large amount of species, you also take their ability to reproduce and whatever it is that they were going to become.
Right.
That
You
is
reduce
now
their population by millions.
we cut out their potential.
Right.
so, and this is what happens. So when you say,
But is that the same as a maple tree?
What if we're
if
just
you're
making
When I can grow a
commoditizing
maple
it and
tree
you're doing
in
a
a-
whole lot of it,
When I can grow hundreds of maple trees on a protected area of land, and they have the ability to grow for 50 years, 100 years, however long they want, that's not the same. There's a scale to it. You know what I mean?
but the respect has to be there. So
You're
it's
right.
like
Yeah.
it's
You have
like
to respect
everything
the
has to be
environment.
tempered.
first of all, a tree never just grows by itself. Trees are social and they communicate underground. There's a fungus that attaches. It's like
Or
the
even the
internet.
roots.
It's like the internet of trees. There's a fungus that has a relationship with plants, okay? And it basically connects roots. So the tree that is the eldest can actually send nutrients to a tree that
Right.
needs it way over here. So if you ever notice when they cut down a certain
Is that
area,
with all trees?
they cut down
Right, I mean,
let's say they
a
cut
network
down
of roots,
an
right.
area of trees to build some houses, right? And then you see way over there a bunch of trees fall down in an area that you didn't cut trees down. Why are they falling down? They're falling down because of what happened over here, because they are connected. Okay? So in nature, a maple tree or any other tree doesn't just exist by itself. It's biodiversity. It has all different plants around it, and all of these plants have a relationship. Okay? And if you don't have that, and you don't have multiple trees around each other, you just throw it up there and for your benefit, it's not going to live to its life expectancy, and there's going to be lots of issues. You're going to have issues with disease and bacteria and all these things that happen,
Right.
and it's your fault that it's happening. You know,
But it's
not my
okay,
fault.
right?
it's
Like,
your
here's the
fault
fact of
because
the
you
matter.
were the
all
one
for
who
the- it's all for the-
decided to plant
But
it
here's the
there.
thing, like
It's
you have
all
to
for
make
human
it so it
advancement.
matters to humans, right? So, like I hear you, and those are fascinating points. That's great trivia, but at the same time, it's like, how do you make this to
Trivia.
where it matters to most people to make them want to change their life? You know?
The environment has to matter to people because we exist because of it.
Yes, but how do you make them care
And you know what's
when
crazy
you live in a
about
world where
When you- when
Kardashians
you-
are number one?
You know
When
what's
you
crazy
live
about
in
what
a
Steph
world
just said?
where you can't breathe
Is that most
without
people
some
don't
type
think
of
about the
mask,
environment.
Yeah, no.
then
but,
you will start.
I mean, now.
Well, that's the thing. How many years can we warn people that this is what's going to happen? You know, right now, everybody in the entire world is experiencing extreme weather issues.
Can I use this as a segue to the Green New Deal?
What?
Now I heard.
You guys know what the Green New
do you
Deal
wanna,
is?
Do you want to break this into another segment, or you want to just keep going on this joint?
No, let's keep going. Okay.
Now I heard.
So the Green New Deal, all right? The Green New Deal is a bill that was proposed, and it came up recently. And all right, so I'm gonna read the Wikipedia front description of the Green New Deal. The Green New Deal is a set of proposed economic stimulus programs in the United States that aims to address climate change and economic inequality. The name references the New Deal, a set of social and economic reforms and public work projects undertaken by FDR in response to the Great Depression. The Green New Deal combines Roosevelt's economic approach with the modern ideas such as renewable energy and resource efficiency. So, in other words,
I remember
it's
reading about the New Deal.
It's kind of like a work program, a economics a stimulus program that will fund renewable energies, that will fund resource efficiency, as it says in this. And it was presented, I think, like last month or something, by the 116th Congress.
Now,
So
I
what
think
it-
the only thing that's going to stand in the way of that, it's like we've been saying, is capitalism. You know what I mean? Because you're talking about renewable energy. You know how many people make money off of non-renewable energy, fossil fuels?
I know.
I mean,
But
it
that's
drives government. You know what I mean?
Major money. And
this is
like I
billions
said,
of dollars.
we don't. Our ability to make changes doesn't lie in our ability to influence policy.
And I think the United
Okay.
States
Our
making these
ability to
changes,
make
is one
changes-
thing, but you have to make changes around the world.
No,
Our ability-
policy definitely
Our
influences
ability
changes.
to make changes is about the demand that we create.
No, I
Yeah.
disagree. I think that policy definitely directs the way people deal with the world around them.
It doesn't if a corporation is paying politicians.
Okay, but how about if the corporations or the people paying the politicians are of a what do you call it? Like have an environmental angle, right? Say instead of Ford focusing on like fuel cars,
Right.
they start focusing on electric cars.
Electric cars.
And then they use that money to. I mean, I hate funding corruption in the government, right? Where people are paying off our government. I hate that, and I'm all for like any kind of resolution to get that out. But if we're changing, like, so something like the Green New Deal would change the angle of companies, because government subsidies, like government funding, will go towards energy efficient things, renewable energies. You use that, companies are going to have to change in order to pivot, because their market is not going to get funded. If you take away, because look, every fuel car, every gas car runs, they constantly use government subsidies on a number of levels in order to fund their productions, right? Say we start pivoting these productions to more fuel efficient development of automobiles, right? And that's just one. But a whole bunch of things like that, right?
Because world economies are interconnected, and you start talking about changing
Policy
from
matters.
fossil fuels to natural forms of energy, people start losing money. Certain company, ExxonMobil, you realize how big a company like ExxonMobil is? I
And
mean,
you know
you're
how
talking
much
about
government
OPEC countries
subsidies
and
they
stuff like
get?
that. You know what's
They
scary
get
about a subsidy?
billions
Because I
of
was
dollars
reading
of
about the
government
Amazon subsidy for this place they're reading around here, and it's like the government will give me money in the hopes of what my business will bring to this area. You know what I mean? Like, so
That's just crazy.
the whole subsidy thing is just crazy, because it's like
They're
it
putting
seems like
bids.
such an abuse of funds.
They're bidding for a company to come to their area with taxpayer money.
Right. Like, that company could totally fund them coming to the area themselves, but
They could.
under the law,
That's
they want
why
a
they
subsidy.
left. That's why Amazon left. What was it, Washington? They were in.
That's
They-
crazy.
Seattle.
They were in Seattle. Seattle was like, okay, that's enough of that. You guys gotta start paying some taxes. They were like,
Exactly.
oh no. They picked that shit up and was like, all right, who wants to host us now?
However many billions of dollars
Ignorance.
this company grosses, it's ridiculous. But my bad. I'm sorry. Take
But yeah. So back to the Green New Deal. Like, what do you guys think about this whole resolution? Like, I understand right now it's definitely a push, and right now a lot of people are talking about it, because this is one of the questions that so far every Democratic candidate I've seen running for president has been asked, and
the Green New Deal. Everybody wants to.
some
look off
people
the
support it, and
environmental
some people,
issues.
yeah, because climate change is a thing.
And
Well,
I don't
here's
believe
the
it
thing,
until
so-
I
Like,
see
I want to
it.
know what Steph thought about it because like
So
you're like super into the.
there's two perspectives, but there's only one truth when it comes to that. Okay.
Okay.
So there's the perspective of the fact that climate change is something that we are inducing as humans, that we are changing it, and there's the perspective of, well, climate change is something that naturally happens to the earth because the earth goes through natural changes, and that's true. The next natural change that we're supposed to go through was an ice age, and we are past that point. We were supposed to have gone through that ice age. The problem is, if we go through that, it doesn't support our lives. We can't live in those type of environments. So,
What happened with the Ice Age?
yeah, we were supposed to have already experienced an ice age. Like the Earth goes through these natural
Cycles.
these natural cycles, right? So some people say, it's naturally it was supposed to happen, so that's what's happening. At the end of the day, the truth is we can't live if our environment is changing so drastically that it's causing all of these issues. Humans are going to die. So what can we do about it? And I think most of our efforts need to be put into figuring that out, because it's almost like, are we okay with human extinction?
Of course not.
I don't think there's gonna be extinction.
Are we okay with human extinction?
wrecking of our
civilization.
There's a lot of life that has come and gone during these natural changes. Are we okay with it? Now we are going to continue to change. That's evolution. So who we are now is not who we're going to be. And based upon these changes, we could adapt, and we could potentially have some type of change that would be able to live in these types of conditions.
Lead a
But
battle angel.
the way that we currently are now,
Robot people.
Robot people.
the way that we currently are now, we need this air. We need to breathe this oxygen.
Yeah.
We need gravity in order to reproduce.
No, gravity is an illusion, man.
I think the thing is,
Flat Earth,
capitalism
son.
doesn't care about any
Magic.
of that shit.
Witchcraft.
Capitalism doesn't
Please
care
don't
about the
ever say
air
that
you
to me
breathe.
again.
What was that? Wasn't there a nuclear disaster in Japan like 2 or 3 years ago?
Fukushima?
Nobody talks about that shit at all. You know what I mean?
That
Nobody
shit's
who
still
talks about
happening.
that shit. And
Actually, I heard about it recently where old
there's
people are
radioactive waste being
volunteering.
poured into the ocean.
Old people are volunteering to go into these sites to try to clean up.
Right.
Because they're sacrificing themselves because they know they're going to die. They're like, we're already old, so we'll try to let the young people live longer while we go in here and try to clean this shit up.
Nobody
I think
talks
that
about
was
this
like
shit.
a
Capitalism
couple
does
of-
not care about the environment.
That was in 2018. I read that.
And that's why I think this Green New Deal, it sounds good when you're in a campaign. It sounds good when you're talking to the common people. But does it sound good when you're talking in front of the business class? Does it sound viable when you're talking to a
Well, guess
CEO
what?
of
Here's the answer.
Amazon?
Here's the answer. No, because as soon as this was dropped, they immediately, it was a dummy Green New Deal was created and distributed. And you know what that one? It said they were gonna. That one said that they were gonna make cows extinct, and they were gonna make. They said they were gonna make cows extinct. They said they were gonna eliminate all flying. They said they were gonna eliminate all trains, and that all cars will be electric or something like that. Pretty much
crazy,
completely
man.
mischaracterizing, and it came out immediately. And that's all that the right wing ever talked about.
That's
Like,
one
they
of my
only
favorite
talked about
economists.
this
Richard Wolff
straw-
always says they just find a way to keep kicking the can down the road.
Well, here's the
fact of
thing.
the matter
I
is
can-
this-
make it to the next.
You guys,
Green New Deal is
Okay.
proposed.
I want to tell you that I hang out with a lot of different people.
Have they
But
not
they're all
all-
environmentalists.
None of them talked about the Green New Deal to you. None of y'all discussed
This isn't something that we're discussing because we don't really discuss political.
Steph didn't talk to him
We
for a
don't
few
really-
days because of
Politics
this whole
is
maple
everything.
tree thing.
Everything's political.
I mean, we are actively in the communities, planting and trying to support the environment as much
That's
as
pretty
possible.
cool.
The
That's
thing
cool.
is, I hang out with people that are Democrats, that are Republican, that are liberals completely removed. That we're all different, and everybody has a different perspective, but we all kind of have the same underlining understanding that we have to play a part in this.
We gotta be
And-
better.
And the thing is, and everybody has a different perspective of what that part is. Okay. But if you look at it, and I want to reference something that was said earlier, okay? Like what is, when we were talking about, well, what is the purpose of this animal versus this animal, blah, 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 and how does it fit into the ecosystem? Okay, so everything fits into the ecosystem. We're all a part of it. Our engineering is
The outlier is humans.
Our engineering is ability is negatively affecting the environment, because we're doing things like, for example, we want running water and the convenience of running water in our home, so we flush our waste product into the water system.
Have you seen these pictures on the internet of
if
these
you were
like
to-
swirling mounds of trash in the ocean?
Yeah.
Is that
yeah.
shit real?
Yes.
That can't be real,
If you
man.
if we were to walk into a creek around here,
That's
that's
a
what
creek.
you would
I'm talking
see.
about this shit look like
Well,
a
the
vortex
ocean is
of
bigger
swirling
than a
trash.
creek.
I
It's
was
like
like,
an island, right?
right. I was like, is that real? That
Like the
can't
Gulf
be
of Mexico
real.
has a huge like trash island.
They're
human
finding
footprint across
they're
the
finding
earth is-
plastic in the deepest portions of the ocean.
That is crazy, man.
Like, so,
It is scary when you think about it, man. It is.
and that most
It's like you were saying,
most
respect.
fish and
we don't
and,
respect shit.
and life in the ocean have consumed plastic at some point in time.
Right, when they cut open a shark and they
Yeah,
see
me
a
too.
fucking milk milk carton inside its stomach or some shit like that. You know what I mean? We've all seen pictures like that. It's wild, man.
That's how you roll around with your mouth open.
I'm like, is that real?
Sorry.
So there's multiple islands of trash, or was that just one big island that I saw?
There's definitely islands of trash. That's all I know.
This especially
That is
happens when
crazy.
there's been a large storm and a lot of stuff has been rushed off into the
I
environment.
heard there was something like some college guys or something like that working on an enzyme that they could dump into the ocean that would dissolve all the plastic in
That
the
sounds
ocean.
like a terrible
And I don't
idea.
trust that. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
I don't trust that shit.
You're
I'm
gonna
like,
dissolve
dude, are you
all
sure?
ocean life.
Don't dump something all
no.
into the ocean that's going to dissolve plastic.
No. Don't do that.
Because there could be some side consequences you don't foresee.
No.
Right.
No.
Fucking
don't do
ocean
that.
monster gonna come out the fucking.
You know,
Godzilla can come out
right.
of the place.
It's like
There's-
fucking Mothra and shit.
there's a lot of perspectives, and I can tell you that I've had a similar conversation with some people that have said, if it's time for us to be extinct, then we're gonna be
Come on,
extinct.
Steph. Stop it.
You know?
Possibly.
Think about
It's-
your kids. You don't want your kids being. You want
You
your
don't
kids
want
to
it,
be
No,
but
she's
you
saying like
can't
it's possible.
control
It is
it.
possible,
very
but that's a
possible.
scary
you don't,
thing,
you
and I don't
don't
want
want
to
it,
speak
but
it
you
into
cannot
existence.
control it. And the thing is, we've had this environment that's been pretty much comfortable for us, right, for a long period of time. But what happens when it's not?
What happens when these resources that the world economy and the world as a whole is so dependent upon run out? Because there's not a limitless supply. You know what I mean?
And
Right?
that's-
Like
and
these
that's
things
it.
took millions of years to form, and we're tapping them like it's nothing. You know what I mean?
And that's a thing, you know.
It's wild.
Let's say that if you were to eat the way the environment provides it for you, right? Would you be able to have fruit at any point in time of the year?
Of course not. Would you be able to go to the grocery store and buy bananas?
Would you be
Would you
able to go pick
buy
up
fucking
syrup
syrup?
whenever you
Exactly.
wanted?
Could you go buy some Eggos or some shit? No.
But again,
To be able to do that, there's
it's an
consequences.
amazing feat of
There are
human
consequences
ingenuity.
in order for us to do that.
Yeah.
You know, the indigenous in America. I mean, when you look at places like
I don't think we all need to be
Alaska,
hunter-gatherers, though.
when you look at places like Alaska, you know, that's not a place that is just comfortable at any point in time. No, they would fish and then they would smoke the fish, and they found ways to preserve.
But do we all need to be like hunter-gatherers or fishermen?
Here in these environments, they found ways to preserve vegetables and stuff for longer periods of time, so that during the winter time you had something to eat and that had the vitamins that you needed until you could grow those things again. So it's not necessarily that we all need to be hunter-gatherers. The greed isn't helping our
Dude, do
situation.
you ever watch that show? Was it Alaska Ice Fishers or something like that? You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about? Where they go out on a boat and they fish, and it's like these Alaskan waters and whatnot. You know, they made this stew one time when they came back to the dock. That joint had whole ears of corn and fish and crabs and shit in it. And that joint looked so banging, but it just reminded me when you said Alaska and shit. That joint looked banging, though. I don't know what the name of that stew was, but that joint looked great. I was like, wow, that shit looked good, man.
It's
Crazy, but think about living in Alaska, though. That shit was suck.
It's a jambalaya in that.
Hey, it doesn't suck.
I know,
for the
Alaska
people
is
that-
beautiful. Don't get me wrong. I'd love to
cool shit
visit,
like that.
but living there,
I mean, if you're not used to an environment, you may not like it. You could go
love it.
somewhere hot and
I'd love
hate
to
it.
visit. If somebody was like, "You can go to Alaska for a week," I'm down.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I probably love to visit.
You do a podcast in Alaska.
Right. Like, we're here for the Intelligent Idea Talkers podcast. They're shivering and shit. Right.
Well, guys,
So,
guess what? That's how it's gonna be.
Right.
I don't know, man.
Stop it, Steph. Steph's always on this apocalyptic stuff.
I'm not. It's not
The world's gonna
apocalyptic.
end in a icy
It's not
ball.
apocalyptic, and it's not about the world ending, but it is about the changes that can happen. And the first things that we're gonna experience are the weather changes, the bad weather.
But the question
And
is, are we going to be aware of how to change anything? Like, I mean, look, the fact that we have policies that are being proposed and nobody knows about it kind of concerns me. Like, this is a big ass policy
It
right
is
now.
a big deal.
That renewable energy, and the fact that none of your Gardner friends know about it, it's kind of
I'm
That
not
should be
saying that
number
nobody knows
one.
about it. I'm saying that we don't discuss it because we don't sit around and talk about politics.
We know more about R. Kelly on a large country scale than we do about the Green
directly
Deal.
to the environment.
Well, then that's a problem, man, because it's not being pushed
Everybody's
through
worried
mainstream
about R.
media.
Kelly right now.
Right.
Did you heard about the Green New Deal?
Of course not. That's when we sat down with the
I said it's
podcast.
just like kind of concerning to me. It was like everybody's worried
Which
about
is-
Well,
it's crazy
R.
because-
Kelly.
Okay, so let's look at it from the same perspective, okay? So you're saying that, okay, not everybody has heard that they need to do this, okay? Well,
We were
now
talking
But the thing
we're on
is,
camera.
in the
We
back
should
of
talk
our
to the camera
mind,
first.
in the back of our minds, we know we need to do this thing because we know that these natural resources that we're tapping are not limitless,
Yeah,
and that we need to
everything's
do
limited.
something to curb the human footprint on the environment. We know that,
Stretch things out.
but nobody cares
Maybe bring
until
levels back to you.
until you have a freaking island of trash that washes up on your beach. You don't care. You know what I mean? That's just how it
But
Or
is.
that
that's-
your water
but
rises so
it's-
your house is underwater.
Right.
it's because people aren't knowledgeable and the ignorance is hurting us and it's not ignorant because we don't have the ability to learn. It's the fact that you're not learning about it when you really need to learn about it.
Right.
You know, during your years of school, when you were in there and learning about, earth science, it's always from the perspective of what do trees provide us? Well, trees provide us wood, and they, you know what I mean? Like,
Well, they do.
they also create oxygen for us to breathe.
Definitely learned that in school.
You know what I mean? It's
Definitely
like,
down
but
school.
it's also about the perspective. You know what I mean? Are you looking at it from a, well, what does this do for me perspective? I could go to the school right now and teach them things that they don't know. I could go to the school right now and teach a principal about the environment or about plants or about trees, and you're the principal.
That's because you're a
You should know about these things.
person who's
Well, they're trained in their
studied in
field.
that stuff, in
Right.
that field, Like, you're a person who's focused on that field. But, like, in school, even up to high school, it's kind of just like a general overall. Like, oxygen comes from plants, photosynthesis.
Right.
Y'all gotta go to class. We got math and algebra.
You don't get the real.
Hey.
The real.
We're gonna teach you how to,
And that's
cook
the effect of
lasagna.
capitalism, even as deep as the educational system is.
But
They
how
don't
many-
teach you
They
about
don't-
But how
environmental
much
issues
did you
in
have to
school.
learn? How much time did we spend on
If you want to learn about
Columbus?
environmental issues in school, you have to learn it on your own.
There's a-
How much time did we spend on Columbus? How much time did we spend?
in elementary school?
Yes, I mean even my child brought home the other day a paper about
Which is freaking crazy because Columbus was probably a racist and
And
he
a
didn't
rapist.
discover America. There was people here.
Yeah.
You know what I
Well,
mean?
when my child brings home these things, you know what I mean? It's like they're still teaching this. This is that you don't learn about.
Like when you guys were saying you were in Belgium and you saw the African artifacts in the museum. We don't learn about none of that shit in America.
It hurts
man.
even. It hurts me to my heart almost because
Which
it's
is
like
ridiculous.
It's even like during. So Juice had the coolest wedding, right?
Oh, yeah,
Juice
sure
had the
dope,
coolest
yeah.
wedding.
Thanks.
So within his wedding, we're seeing all these cultural things in it, and you're amazed by it, but then you're also kind of hurt too.
Which I still say the
dang, I've
percentage
never
of
seen
planning
anything
was
like
probably
this.
like 80-20 Claudine versus Juice. You know what I mean? Like, I think Claudine did most of the planning. but- Right.
95.5.
I don't think Juice did a lot of the play because that was like a lot of like I was like, wow, this is great, man.
But when it comes to
I did
culture,
pick the Bang Bang Shrimp. I don't know if y'all had the Bang Bang Shrimp. That was
I
me.
didn't. I have the
Oh.
vegan plate.
Hey,
But-
I asked Juice.
Bang, bang,
I said,
Shrimp.
yo, Juice, how much was that open bar at your wedding, man? He said, just drink, man, just drink.
Just make sure
How
you
much was
use
that
it.
open bar?
Make sure you use it.
Wow.
But it's like it's the because of slavery and because of colonization and all these other things, you get removed from culture, you know what I mean, and you don't get to experience it. I can do a DNA test and see, oh, I have this percentage of Nigerian, but what does that mean to me because I don't know the culture.
I'm like 85% Nigerian.
You know, the common argument is, and I still need to do mine. The common argument is, well,
They
that
gonna
was so
sell it to the
long
government.
ago. Colonization and slavery was so long ago. But the ramifications and the reverberations
wasn't
are
that
still
long
being
ago.
felt through
It
today.
wasn't that
It
long
was
ago.
not that long.
Well, that's what people
But
say. They'll say,
It was
well,
two
you haven't
old
been
people back to
slaves
back.
for 150 years, 200 years. Let it go, you know?
That's-
Pull yourself up by your
country was
bootstraps.
only 40 years ago for some countries.
Physically impossible to.
And
pull
some
yourself
slavery
up
is
by your
still going on. I
bootstraps.
heard there's a lot of slavery in like the Middle East.
There's a lot of slaves
Right.
here.
Yeah.
Right. Look at R. Kelly.
Vanity slaves.
R. Kelly had them slaves. Stop it. Y'all ain't right. R. Kelly.
You said it.
I know, right?
You
Absolutely
said it.
not.
R. Kelly was like, she puts the lotion on her skin. It's like, what? R. Kelly? What? I've never done that
What's it called? But they didn't say anything nice about me either.
ever. Right. But that's
In all
okay.
fairness,
All right, okay.
they didn't
We're
say
gonna
anything
let R.
nice
Kelly
about
go.
it. All right, we done.
They did
All
not
right.
say nothing nice about
All
R.
right, we
Kelly.
gotta wrap this one up because we had like 50 minutes. So,
All right, well, Steph, we definitely wanted to give you a chance to get
Yeah.
your opinion across, your point across, because Steph was hitting us with all this information at like 6:30 in the morning the other day.
so much info,
And
man.
I was like, Steph,
She
maple
knows a
trees,
lot.
corn syrup. Yeah, oh, okay. It was coming in my brain like the Matrix.
No, I'm just
Just, like,
saying. I'm
downloaded
just saying
all
that
this
we have to
information.
have respect, man. We have to have respect, and we can't just
100% respect.
whatever it is, whatever we
balance.
want, whenever we want it. There's got to be some type of balance, man. You can't.
You can't continuously take
Yeah.
because
Like, what-
there's a limit to what's
And if
being
you're
able to be
taking,
given.
what are you putting back? You know, what's your contribution to it? You know, because money, paying for something, that's not
Well, like you
contributing
said,
to
especially in
anything.
a country like America, first world country, we are disconnected from the environment. Like, we don't care. We'll start our car, drive to where we need to go, and get out without thinking twice about what happened on the way to that, how many emissions, fumes
This
we
is
emitted to
America.
the air, or, we'll throw away a rubber tire without even thinking about what goes into manufacturing that tire. You know what I mean?
I mean,
we'll
I
just
feel-
pay out
I
$300
feel-
to get a new tire.
Super guilty about it all the time. Like every time, like I drive a vehicle that I didn't get to pick. You know what I mean? It's.
Well, I could already see stuff.
I mean, I
having,
can't
like, a
blame those
Tesla
people
or
not
something.
wanting to live with that guilt. They just rather not think about it.
I-
But at the same time,
And I
it's
heard
like we
electric
need
cars
to
are so much
we need
better.
to keep people educated. We need to keep people involved. Like if we can get people involved in their environments,
Mm.
right? Involved in the environment to where they start caring for it.
And I think most people do, right? Nobody wants to
Mm.
pollute
really.
where they don't have to.
But-
It's just
man, I
people
see
don't think about
throw
it.
A lot
shit
of
out the
people
window of
don't-
their cars,
They
like,
don't
all
think
the time,
about it
all
or
the time,
understand
dog.
their.
That shit happens all the time.
You may
It's
not
like, man,
think
what
about
did
it
it
or
hurt you to
understand
put
your
that in the
pollutants.
trash?
Let's say, for example, you
I run
where's
around
the
with
trash
15 bottles in
go?
my car so I
Right.
get to a dumpster. It's like they just throw it
Trash,
out the
it's a
window.
problem.
When you throw your trash in the dumpster, you assume, okay, it's done, my part's done,
And that's
the
and,
recycling
thing.
bin.
and that's where it's
You don't know
supposed
what
to go.
happens to it after
You have
that,
no
where
idea
it
what
goes.
happens to it. And let's say for
The
me,
garbage bin
I
wasted
have
on the
to
ground
take-
when they're thrown into the back of the truck.
Exactly. I have to take my can out to the curb, right? And it doesn't go into a big dumpster with something heavy on top to close it, right? But when a big storm comes, the whole neighborhood's trash is all over the place, and it rushes into the local water stream that we have, and it's everywhere, plastic and paper and everything all over the place.
Well, what can we do about
But I think
that?
that's a minuscule
What do we
amount
do about
versus
that?
the
We
amount
make
that makes it to
more
the trash.
biorenewable or biodegradable plastics, right?
I think
Or we
that's
make
one thing you would
replacements.
have to do, yes.
All of which could be potentially put in place by policies. Policies in which we need to be involved in. That's the reason they're starting to make straws, but only by demand. That's why they're starting to make paper straws. That's why they're starting to make napkins only by demand.
Yeah.
Like they're trying to reduce this.
I
Why you
try
have
to
to pay
buy
for
things that
plastic
are
bags. They try to
biodegradable.
deter you from of just getting all the stuff and just throwing it away frivolously. It's a good policy to have in place.
We can feel like we don't have choices, right? So like when we go to the grocery store, we just know that my kids gotta eat. I'm gonna buy them what they want, right?
Nickel and dime, but it's
But-
something.
But the thing is, we don't have necessarily. We feel like we don't have the control over. Well, this comes in plastic. I don't have control over that. That's the company. Well, we can create the demand by being vocal about it. You can be like, I would prefer if this. I email companies all the time. And be like, I wish you would do this. I really like your product, but I wish you would do this.
I think I'm with you. The only way really is
On a
policy
grand
changes
scale.
because I mean there's an environmental impact on everything that we have. Like in a consumer society, our food comes wrapped in plastic. When you throw away electronics, you just throw it in the trash. You know how many people
Yeah.
think about recycling it versus I'm gonna dump it and buy another one. You
Just
know?
throw your batteries
My
in the
computer
trash.
has a virus. Let me buy another one. You know what I mean?
batteries are super acidic,
And
right?
it's just consumerism, man. It's just until.
And there,
But
and
it's
there's,
like we have to put in place policies, right?
Right.
So we have to be
I think that's
aware of what
one of the
policies
ways.
are available, and we have to vote for those policies. Like
But
if you
here's the
support
problem.
vote for a candidate who supports policies. I get it; it's nickel and dime.
how do you know? How do you know if you don't understand the process?
You know
that
what
it
I know?
takes
You know what I
in
do
order
know?
for you to
It's
get the
better
product
than-
that you wanted, how do you know what to vote for?
'Cause the
you
process-
don't know that it's a problem.
The process
If
is
you
me
don't
going
know
to
that,
Walmart and
if
picking
you
it
don't
up.
understand the process of how it was created and brought to you, then you don't know what to vote for. You don't know what the problem is.
Then we put people in positions of power who do know what the problem is, right? Like we vote for a candidate who, like, so
If I don't know
something
what
like
the
a
problem
Green
is,
New
how
Deal.
can I vote for the candidate that is? How do I know that it's an issue?
you have to make it aware. You have to make people aware of it. Which is by going out or like advertising, campaigning. That's what campaigns are all about. Also, paying attention to politics.
Right.
Like if people like to bury their heads, like, oh, this is too complicated for me. Oh, they all sound the same anyway. I guess so,
But they do.
but they don't. They do, but they don't. If you're paying attention, right?
Don't know
Like
who
you,
sounded different.
if you keep yourself informed. I'm not saying you need to consume everything and believe everything a politician says. Not what I'm saying at all. But have you guys ever heard of there's an app called I don't have my phone. It's called Politiscope, I think.
I know, right? Because we're recording on this phone.
Yeah, you're going on my phone. But it's called Politiscope. And it's an app that breaks down policy positions for politicians. It breaks down their history. It breaks down bills they proposed in easily digestible parts.
Was it called
But-
Politiscope?
Politiscope, I think.
Politiscope. Download it.
It's an app.
Download it.
I was going to talk about it in the next cast. So it's something that people need to be aware of, right? But nobody knows about it. Why? Because here's the thing.
Because most people are concerned with going live on Facebook.
Right. Most people are concerned about minutia, and also because minutia was pushed to us. They like that people don't know what's going on in politics.
Of course. They
And
can
if you
push
wonder,
through
like, how do people
legislation
find
without
out?
everybody knowing.
You have to take responsibility for yourself.
Of course they like us.
I hate to always go on this rant, man. I always feel like I do the same rant.
Bro, that's
But
politics.
it's
Is us
important,
not
man.
knowing that's politics.
The fact that they're okay with dang, what is it called? When they limit sections where people where they can only vote, but their votes don't matter because they've been drawn out by another district. It's not redlining, it's something else. Anyway, like, huh?
Gerrymandering.
Gerrymandering, yes. The fact that gerrymandering is commonplace and happens all the time, and is only in the last year or so been determined to be, hey, this might be unconstitutional.
Yeah.
It's because nobody was paying the fucking attention. Niggas was not listening. Like,
It
y'all
was
weren't paying attention.
unconstitutional since they've been putting it into practice, but
Right.
nobody paid attention.
Like, when
so
your
it's
district is
like,
cut
oh,
like this,
right?
like, when it's like this big, but you have a whole state, like, come on, like, that's obviously
But
something's
that's
up
in
with
general. People will just flock to whatever everybody else is doing. So
that. People love to believe
so
what's on TV.
for-
You have to do your own
I mean,
research.
I
You have
I
to
was at a
read
store the
articles.
other day. There was multiple lines
watch
open, and everybody's going to this one line and lining up by this one line, and I'm like,
Because, yeah, they don't want to think.
so I walked past this line and walked right up to an empty register and was out of there. Like, and nobody seemed to even notice that I did that. Like, the thing is, it's like everybody, like you're saying that everybody has to take responsibility.
Yes.
I'm agreeing with you. I'm saying that people have to have respect.
Agreed.
What
Respect
are you
is a big
saying,
thing.
D? What's
No, respect is the big thing. I agree with both of you guys. It's crazy. People
All
gotta
right,
take
and on that
responsibility
note, Intelligent Idea Talkers. It's about responsibility and
and
respect.
respect for maple trees.
Oh
That's
gosh.
right. All right, guys.
We know we had to poke with stuff. All right, so that's it.
Peace.
All right, peace.